Hi, my name is Willaerts and I teach and learn about digital business, digital culture and digital marketing. Because of an outbreak of the bubonic plague epidemic in 1666, a young, brilliant student had to interrupt his studies at Cambridge University. The Great Plague of 1666 was the worst outbreak in England since the Black Death of 1346. It spread rapidly throughout Europe. The student returned to his hometown to self-isolate. One day, he was sitting under an apple tree in his mother's orchard, thinking, when an apple fell onto the ground. The young student's name was Isaac Newton, and his notions of gravity were a spectacular break from how scholars thought about physics until then. Today, in 2021, days seem to drag on, while months seem to pass in the blink of an eye. The year has led to a spectrum of intense emotional clutter, from fear to outrage, joy and grief. So numbness is a psychological response that's completely normal. And yet, that's a shame. Like Isaac Newton, we have to put our lives on pause, but also like Newton, we should take the time to go sit under an apple tree and just let things happen. Why? Because today's exponential changes bring not only chaos, but also a lot of amazement. We are witnessing today a technological singularity before our very eyes. Now, what exactly is a singularity? The technological singularity is a unique theoretical point when technological growth changes things so fast, the effects are irreversible. This results in permanent changes to human civilization. The pandemic triggered today's technological singularity. And this is special because in our lifetime, we've only had this happen a couple of times before. One example, in 2004, Facebook was launched. It was not the first social network and definitely not the only one. But before Facebook, people would just update their profile page and connect with other profiles. But ever since we have Facebook, we scroll through our news feeds, eager to find out about the world and the people we care about, especially today. Another example. In 2007, at the Apple keynote event, Steve Jobs introduced one more thing, the iPhone. Again, not the first smartphone, and even today, definitely not the only one. But the idea of mobile apps took right off there and then. And yes, as one of the WikiLeaks founders once said, an iPhone is a tracking device you can make phone calls with. But it's also a way for grandparents to video call their children and grandchildren and tell bedtime stories via FaceTime. My point is, we are now forced to stay home and self-isolate. Go sit under your proverbial apple tree and think. That's precisely what I've been doing. And I noticed that the digital technology is changing right now at an exponential rate. For example, up until now, the whole concept of privacy, personal data has been one big disappointment. But thanks to the advancements in the field of artificial intelligence, things are looking up again. Artificial intelligence is capable of making sense of large data sets. It can see patterns, it can make predictions based on those patterns. Take, for example, health data. Imagine a world where you have a digital twin. I like the idea. This digital twin would manage all of my personal data for me. It would file my taxes, do my business's accounting, and decide who has access to my health records. Am I scared about how fast all this is going? A little. But I'm also curious about what will happen next. Science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke called this magical. He said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." So what's going to happen next? Today's crisis sparks a wave of innovation and launches a new generation of entrepreneurs. In the next 24 months, profound change is about to hit. We will see more new technology shipped than human beings have ever shipped. The role of large companies is going to change. I'm expecting new services and devices from the usual suspects: Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and others. You will give these companies a lot of new data from these things, especially health data. So this is something we should keep an eye on. The role of governments also changes. There's a lot of chaos, cyber attacks, distrust in governments, worries about the surveillance state. But I'm also seeing governments all over the world redefine how they communicate and take care of their citizens. Another thing that I'm keeping an eye on, the concept of privacy. This will radically change over the next 24 months due to all this exponential growth in the field of technology. So how are we going to deal with it? In 2021, we're embracing it all, the chaos and the amazement, because we know we have to. Exponential change is inevitable, so focus on what you can control. And when the chaos becomes a little overwhelming, do what Isaac Newton did. Go home and find an apple tree to sit under. Take your time to rest and to reflect. Give yourself space to play and experiment without a set agenda. And keep your eyes and mind open for the unexpected, like an apple falling from a tree.